So in terms of the Fukushima water, as outgoing chair, Fiji stands with the decision made by the forum leaders in Nandi last week about the position on the release of the Alps treated water by the government of Japan, that it be guided by science and data. The planned release will have transboundary impacts across the Pacific Ocean, and it is important that we reach a shared understanding on the implications of this release before we move ahead. Just yesterday, we commemorated once again the day which is memorialized for victims of nuclear testing and waste. The plans by Japan are therefore keeping us on very high alert. We have learned our lesson, albeit the hard way, and we cannot leave the same legacy for future generations. As the Pacific Islands Forum, we have established an independent panel of experts to advise on this very complex issue, and to review the data and information that is informing Japan's position on the matter. In very simple terms, our independent panel of experts have not been able to reach the same conclusion as the Japanese government and the IAEA, based on the data and information that has been shared with them. A question that we have to ask: if the Alps water is so safe, why not reuse it in Japan for alternative purposes, in manufacturing and agriculture, for instance? Soon after chairing the forum's leaders' special retreat in Nandi, the Prime Minister has left to attend the Oceans Conference in Panama. As you know, we live in the Pacific Ocean, and we are a family of the ocean, and we only have one ocean. So the health of the Pacific Ocean is vitally important for us. It is a source of livelihood to many of us. It holds the only healthy stock of tuna in the world. It forms a key part of the Pacific Islands Forum 2050 strategy, emphasizing the preservation, protection, and security of the ocean and our people. Most of us, if not all, are culturally connected to it. Through the ocean, our forefathers navigated in this ocean through mass migrations in multi-double hull canoes long before the explorers did. I'll move on to Grace Roads. It is correct that I am heading the government task force that has been asked, and I've been asked by the Prime Minister to head, looking into the operations of the Grace Road in Fiji. There have been allegations and complaints raised against Grace Roads. We are currently doing investigations, and I would like to urge all in Fiji that we allow due process to be carried out, and we respect everyone's right to confidentiality, and ensure that the inquiry is conducted out properly, and ensuring that all parties are heard. So from now on, we will not comment any further on the Grace Road matter, and we'll await the outcome of the inquiry, and then we'll make a proper announcement at that point. In terms of the other thing I just thought I'd like to mention, this is not a witch hunt. It's a request to look into the business operations of Grace Roads to ensure that Grace Road is in compliance and that no laws were breached in Fiji as well as Korea. And so I just thought to make that clear. I'm also very mindful of the investment climate in Fiji and the perception that might start growing that this government he's trying to look at every business and do inquiries on them. That is certainly not the case. So I just thought I'd make that assurance as well, that this is a specific request from the Prime Minister, and it's certainly not something that we are doing lightly at this point. On the matter of West Papua, as the chair for the forum last week, outgoing chair, the Prime Minister felt that it was important to meet all delegations that came to the conference and to just hear them out and understand their issues and challenges. As the Honourable Prime Minister had stated in his press conference with Honourable Prime Minister Marape of PNG, we continue to respect the sovereignty of Indonesia, as stated, and that we thought we'd mention that today. Like Kiribati, Fiji will act as a bridge to all its Pacific neighbors and in those in the region. And in the instance of West Papua, that's the posture that has been taken. The Prime Minister had advised the leaders at the last forum that he would like to discuss the issue at the MSG and see how best things can be advanced from there. So I thought I'd just share that with all of you here today. Finally, on the matter of retired Philip Tarkinkini, Lieutenant Colonel retired as acting permanent representative to the United Nations. I think the most important, firstly, I know that the Honourable former Prime Minister of Fiji, the Honourable Mahendra Chaudhry, had made some comments. I, of course, have great respect for Mahendra Chaudhry, so I do not want to enter into a debate publicly with him, but only to respectfully note his concerns. One of the things that we would like to point out is the appointment is temporary. Colonel Tarkinkini will return to Suva after the delegation in Panama in order to follow the Public Service Commission processes. As the Prime Minister has stated all along, all posts are advertised, will be advertised with a review and the recall of relevant overseas heads of missions following due process. If Colonel Tarkinkini is successful, he will be duly appointed as the permanent representative to the United Nations if he is successful. I thought I'd leave it there for now and open it up for questions. And thank you for your attention and thank you for coming in today. Vinaka. Sure.
Acting PM, just in relation to Bridgeroad, I know you said that you will not make further comments.
Yes.
But this is in relation to questions that have been raised earlier. How come this organization, which was controversial with its leader also in prison in Korea, given loans by the Fiji Development Bank, when the bank itself stands for upliftment of Fijians in businesses.
Yeah, thank you.
Will that be also looked at? Because
yeah, that's certainly a certain subject that's part of the investigation. And like I said, you probably saw that the FDB CEO had said that they had refinanced onward to BSP. That's a public fact. So as part of the investigations, that's part of the investigation. But like I said, I'm not keen to make any further comment until we follow due process in terms of the investigation.
Just in terms of the Tarkinkini,
Sure.
PM. Is this for the first time he's returning to the country?
To be honest, I'm not too sure. Possibly it is, but certainly the advice from the PM is that he's returning to Fiji. Like all, I think, like all citizens, I've been meeting a lot of people that this is the first time they've come back in 10, 12, 13 years because of what's been happening in this country. So, clearly there's a lot of, I just met a cousin 2 days ago. She's been out of the country because of issues in the country. And so I think from that perspective, we welcome everybody back with open arms. And, it's a great time for our country to start seeing some of our best and brightest decide to come back into Fiji. And so I think that's the positive spin I'd like to put on it. We have a wealth of knowledge and people in our diaspora that have been set aside purely because the government decided that they were not worthy to set foot in our country. And they are now coming back. As Minister for Trade, I am seeing some of them bring back significant or genuine investment back to Fiji. So we should put a positive spin on it. We should be happy that our people are returning back to their country.
So in regards with Mr. Kamikamica
Sure.
You might have read Mr. Mahela Chaudhry's statement that he issued.
Some of it, yeah.
He has made some serious allegations
Yes.
in his statement. What is your position as the acting PM on that?
Yeah, look, like I said, I didn't want to enter into a debate on with the Honorable Prime Minister Chaudhry. I think we note his concerns, but my preference is not to debate publicly. I'm sure when Colonel Tariq Kini arrives, you can ask him some of those questions. He can defend himself. Yeah.
So could you be able to reveal why the government is keeping the Grace Road investigation confidential, and also how long will this investigation
Yeah. For me, there's a couple of significant issues. One is investment confidence. The last thing you need in a country is a perception by business that anybody around can get investigated by government. That's a big concern for me because we are coming out of a very bad situation in the pandemic. We have an opportunity to grow, boost investment, and that's why I've just respectfully suggested everybody to just turn the temperature down. Let's have a proper investigation. Let's give Mr. Daniel Kim his opportunity to explain his position, and then the government will come to a proper decision. Trial by media is not pleasant, or trial by social media in this instance, and we need to be respectful. On the balancing side of it, without sounding like I'm defending Grace Roads, they have lifted the standards in retail in this country significantly. We have a better product out there. We see tourists going in that shops and buying things. We have locals of means that are going into those shops. So it's created a new environment in terms of retail business in Fiji, notwithstanding some of the concerns that have been raised in various forums. So my urge is just let's allow government to conduct the investigation. We will advise once that investigation is completed, and be assured that from government, being a new government, a government that respects the rule of law, that respects good governance and the importance to do things correctly, we will follow the rule of law, and we will go in accordance with what the facts determine. So I just thought that's why I wanted to call the press conference, because I was seeing a lot of things out there in the press, and we need to As a country and as a society, just understand that there are other parameters that are at play. I've had businesses express concern purely from the fact that perception-wise it may create a perception that government's poking things into everybody's business. That's certainly not the case. We will not do that. But in this case, the Prime Minister has specifically asked for this investigation. It will be carried out with utmost due diligence and utmost professionalism. And for that reason, I've asked that we won't entertain any further questions on Grace Road until the investigations are completed. Nothing.
Sir, back to the foreign investor confidence.
Sure,
Fiji.
sure.
What's your message to investors who wanting to come to Fiji in terms of not looking at this as a barrier?
Yeah. Look, I think I've been using a couple of terms. One is Fiji is open for business. Secondly, we're looking at ways to turbocharge the Fijian economy. And what do I mean by that? We need investments in the country that can be approved as quickly as possible. And we can start turning some ground, employing people, creating jobs, and start the economy moving. I was happy that the Serena announcement happened last Friday. That's an investment that's from talking to the investors in that project. They're keen to start turning some ground very soon. So that's kind of what we are trying to do. You will note that one of the things we're big on is trying to alleviate bottlenecks. I keep on going back to this Laulala situation that developed. If people don't understand, that was a serious reflection on Fiji's economy, and because we had large players involved in that investment. Laulala is a company that, if we don't know, they've spent about 800 million in Fiji. They send about 3 million in foreign exchange into Fiji every month. The Reserve Bank takes a personal interest in that money coming into Fiji. And here we were as a country, not explaining why we wanted to do a stop order, just treating them like, in not a way that we would like to treat all our investors in the country, both local and foreign. So that's why we acted as quickly as we did. I believe that it created a positive spin on Fiji. You may have heard Honorable Biman said the other day, he and I are on the same page on this. We need to unlock the potential of Fiji. And how we do that? We allow private sector to do what they do, and then government just provides support. Maybe in the past that was not truly the case. I can't say, but certainly from now on going forward, we will try and ensure and support investors, local and offshore, that want to invest in Fiji. I'm seeing a lot of big interest in Fiji, both offshore and also local, and we welcome all that, because that means that our push to create more jobs, create more opportunities, create meaningful employment. These are some of the things that are priorities to this government, and I will certainly do all that I can to make sure that happens. We are going to New Zealand in the next couple of weeks. Hopefully some of you can tag along to that trade show. We're not there to have a holiday, we're there to look for business for our country. And I think Fiji is ripe for some significant investment in Fiji. And so that trip will be all about trying to make connections, see who's interested. If we have, and I believe there's significant interest, try and convert that into opportunity. And at the end of the day, all that talk needs to turn into action on the ground. Right? So that's a key priority for all of us as well.
Mr. Governor, there's a report when
organized by the Fiji Women's Rights Movement.
Yes.
Week.
Yes.
We've made advances in employing more women,
Yes.
but they are in low income levels.
Yes.
A lot of them are.
Yes.
We've made it. The government has made advances in that aspect with the appointment of Lenora as the speaker,
Yeah.
deputy speaker,
Mm.
as well as
Yeah. Yeah.
leader of government.
Yeah.
But will you be looking at, I think the board, in terms of the board appointments,
Mm.
we've had less women still employed on the board.
Yeah.
Will government be looking at keeping, or looking at setting
Yeah.
gender targets?
Yeah. Thank you.
Targets, when it,
Yeah.
sets up criteria for
Yeah.
appointments on board levels, as well as the civil service.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Anyway, you only have to see the kind of appointments our Prime Minister's made recently in terms of appointing the first acting commissioner of prisons to be the first lady. Those are the kind of signals that we are sending. That we are not only into tokenism. We will try and ensure that there is a proper representation of all, not only all genders, but also all people in Fijian society. So when we look at a board, it's a representation of Fiji. So that's kind of where we're headed with the board selections. So yes, you will see some changes, some positive changes, hopefully. I see them as positive. Hopefully the press and the public of Fiji will see them as positive. But that's kind of, that's definitely where we're headed. In regard to ladies' salaries being probably not as high as probably as would like, that is a fair comment. It's a historical, unfortunately, it's a legacy issue for a lot of countries. You always see countries like America raise it. These are 200-year-old civilizations and they still have that issue. So it's an ongoing challenge for all the countries. I'm seeing some potential industries in Fiji that will address that issue of income inequality or imbalance, if you like. So certainly it's something that's in active consideration with the current government, and we will continually address it. I don't think we've gone far enough in terms of women representation, to be quite honest. But that's for another day. But I think we have an opportunity to do some good things as well in that regard. Naka.
So can we get an update on investigations on former FB CEO and whether the vehicle that he bought has been put on tender?
Yeah, I did get that question this week. Sorry, I didn't address it in my notes, but I'll come back to you in terms of an answer on that. Certainly, like as you will appreciate, once an investigation starts, as a government, it's our responsibility to respect confidentiality and keep things very tight in terms of the progress. Only because we don't want to prejudice the investigation. But I'll come back in terms of the use of the car. Yeah. Thank you.
Acting Peer, I've got a further question in relation to CWM Hospital.
Yes.
Of course, we saw the community
Yes.
last Saturday.
What a wonderful sight, eh?
And the health ministry and the
Yes.
government out
Yeah.
in the cleanup. Following that, there's a concern raised about the cleaning contract that was outsourced worth about $2.495 million. It shows that the government tender board had approved it in 2021. The questions are being asked why it was in such pathetic and filthy state when we had a contract given by government tender board approved, and it seemed like that no one was cleaning up. Is the government looking at the tender processes, the review of the decisions being made and how they were being done?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we're trying to do at the moment is just review the whole governance processes in procurement in various areas. You will find that we will be making announcements on procurement in various areas and our concerns. But it's certainly, if there's an area for improvement, I think that's one, just being transparent in those areas. Again, it's one of the things that we're actively trying to look at. I don't have any specific information on the hospital issue, but certainly I can pass that on to the Honourable Minister for Health to have a look. The importance of good governance, the importance of having proper tenders, those are active areas that are being looked at the moment. If over time we need to make any announcements, we will make them at the appropriate time.
The World Bank this week gave a bit of an assessment of
Yes.
the economy
Yeah.
and future,
Sure.
and you would have seen the former Minister of Economy's
Yeah.
response to that.
Yeah.
I'm keen on your sort of view on that. But also, they made a specific point that incentivizing or subsidizing electricity and water really benefited the big end of towns, businesses and people that are already doing okay.
Yeah.
So could you just respond to that as well?
Yeah, thank you. There's no secret that the country is on a upward recovery, and it's happening quite well. Numbers in tourism are exceeding, I think, expectation, which is very good given our heavy dependence on tourism. But it also talks to our vulnerability in terms of economy. So that's where I hope I'll help in terms of genuinely diversifying the economy of Fiji. To the point about I think when we look at the recovery, we need to have a look at how that recovery happened. I think we can all be honest and say if this government had not been wasteful, we probably would have not have to have lent a lot of money, about 2 billion, during the COVID situation to actually support our people. It's called fiscal space in economy, and that comes through disciplined spending. Because government had not been disciplined in their spending, when things became tight, we had to borrow, and that's why the borrowing ratios are where they are. It's important that as a government we seek ways to address the debt problem. My only point with the way we managed ourselves through the recovery is we all feel, Mr. Honourable Biman Prasad feels, even Mr. Narumbe feels that the government was too wasteful over the last 16 years. If you have discipline in your system, and that's how countries like Australia and New Zealand have been operating. If you have a disciplined government that doesn't do wasteful spending, when things like, for example, that international golf tournament that happened for, I think it was 12 million every year for a couple of years. It was 60 million or whatever ended up being the amount spent. That kind of spending. So had things been done responsibly, when we hit these kind of situations, we would have been able to manage internally. So now that we're coming out of the situation, we've got so many things that we need to do as a country. We need to fix the hospitals. We need to fix the water system. We're getting water cuts. Even in the urban centers, we're getting water cuts. There's stories about our distribution water systems leaking about 50% of the water out. But we have to borrow now because we've already reached capacity. And as you know, the ratios in terms of borrowing are saying we should be very, very careful. So the challenge to the Honorable Minister Prasad, and we are all going to try and help him, is to try and create fiscal space, and that comes through, again, trying to be disciplined in spending, try and at the same time turbocharge the economy so that we get some good growth going. So it's sometimes it's good to pat yourself on the back, but the how is really what reveals your financial management capacity or capability. And I think all the economists, and including myself, agree that things could have been handled a lot better.
Thank you. Last question. Acting PM, just in terms of a report by CBI and the Global Corruption Barometer,
Yes.
Pacific Indication 2021, it revealed that the perception of the public is that the members of parliament and the police force are the most corrupted in the country. What does the government plan to do to make sure that they trust, that people trust the police and members of parliament?
I think there's a lot that can be done. I think there was a code of conduct that was supposed to be introduced in Parliament for one. That did not get done. This government will seriously look at putting that in place. We had some discussion recently in Cabinet about a code of conduct for the Cabinet ministers, just having another look at it. Integrity is very important in how you conduct yourselves in public office. And certainly from where I sit, and I know all my colleagues in Cabinet and Parliament sit, we plan to do things correctly, ethically, and with integrity. And so those are important values for us. One thing about history is you can learn from it. And whilst you're fixing the mess, you can actually learn from it and try and put in place mechanisms that will make things better. So that's how I'm looking at the challenges. Yes, the politicians, being politicians, always have certain perceptions against them, and it's our job to try and regain the trust and confidence of the people of Fiji. Hopefully our actions in the last 70 days has demonstrated some level of credibility and sticking to their word in terms of our word in terms of the 100-day initiatives. Integrity is very important to the running of this country. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on the video. Thank you, sir.
Naka.